বিষয়ী দুর্গানা সদকামের কিছু কিছু আমার ভরসা তুমি, আমার ভরসা তুমি, তোমার চরণে রইল শরণ, কেমনে সুধীরে গোপীনাথ, কেমনে সধীরে না জানি ভগত কর্মজরা সংসার না জানি ভগত কর্মজরা করেছি সংসার, সকল তোমার মায়া, সকল তোমার মায়া, নাহি মম বল জ্ঞান স্বাধীন নাহি মম বল জ্ঞান স্বাধীন বিষয় দুর্জন সদকামের কিছু নাই আমি কি দোষের দোষী, আমি কি দোষের দোষী, তোমার ছাড়িয়া সংসারে ভজন ভুলিয়া আপন ভুলিয়া আপন গোপীনাথ, তুমি তো সকলই জানো, গোপীনাথ তুমি তো সকলই জানো, আপনার জনে দণ্ডিয়া এখন শ্রীচরণে দেব স্থান, আপনার জনে দণ্ডিয়া এখন শ্রীচরণে দেব স্থান, গোপীনাথ একই বিচার কর, গোপীনাথ একই বিচার কর, বিমুখ দেখিয়া শারীরিক জনে গোপীনাথ মম নিবেদন শুনা, গোপীনাথ আমি তো মূর্ছয়তি সে ভালো হয় নাহি জানি কিসে ভালো হয় কবু নাহি ভাবি তাই তোমার চরণে তোমার ছাড়িয়া সংসারে ভজে ভুলিয়া আপন সদা কামে রত কিছু নাই কিছু নাই This is a very beautiful song written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's writing that, O Gopinath, please remove the torment of worldly existence. I can no longer tolerate the pain of ignorance and the cycle of repeated birth and death. Then number two, O Gopinath, I am conformed servant of lust. Worldly desires are awakening in my heart, and thus the noose of fruitive work is beginning to tighten. Number three, O Gopinath, when will I wake up and cast this enemy of lust far away? And when will you manifest yourself in my heart? Number four, O Gopinath, I am your devotee, but because I abandoned you and thus forgot my real treasure, I have worshipped this mundane world. Number five, O Gopinath, you know everything. Now, having punished your servant. Please give him a place at your lotus feet. Number 6. O Gopinath, in this your judgment, that seeing me averse to you, you abandon your servant and bestow not even a particle of mercy upon him. Number 7. O Gopinath, I am certainly very foolish, and I have never known what is good for me, such as my condition. O Gopinath, you are indeed the wisest person. Please find a way to bring good fortune to this fool, and please do not consider this servant an outsider. This song is very long, but we'll do some other day. So this Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing uh, so many nice songs, and here in these songs, he's actually placing himself in front of Gopinath that I am nobody and I have no good qualities, uh, and I am the servant of the last. The only way I can get out of the situation is through your mercy. So please do not think that I am a some separate entity. I am yours, and you are mine. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur is fully surrendering to Gopinath. And he's also saying, Ami ki doshare doshi. Uh, what is my fault? Uh, what is my fault? The Asura Sakal Pailo Charan, that even the demons, uh, they got your shelter. But why I am sitting? Why I am not getting it? It's a full heart prayers. Gopinath Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a very educated person. So he wrote many Bengali songs, very poetic way, in the glories of Chaitanya Nityananda. Om Ajnanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshushanmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Shapadantikam Pandeyam Sri Guru Sri Judapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunath Nitam Nitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Chaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Nitam Cha Panchagalodharva Shiva Sindhu Bhaivaja Patitanam Pavanat Vishnu Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadannaya Krishna Premapradaya Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. We will be reading from Adi Lila, Chaitanya Caritamrita, Lord Chaitanya in five features. Lord Chaitanya in five features means Chaitanya, Nityananda, Advaita, and Gadadhar Srivas. Today the topics we'll be discussing about Advaita, Advaita, because we have heard earlier uh, about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Acharya, but we didn't hear exactly what Gadadhar is. So, so we'll speak a little bit about Gadadhar. The topic is Gadadhar. The next time we'll speak about Srivas. So, but in this chapter, it is glorifying the five tattvas, Panchatattva. Panchatattva, Sri Krishna Chaitanya is none from Radha and Krishna, Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya, they are Vishnu Tattva, Or Nityananda Prabhu is Balaram himself, and Advaita Acharya is Sadashiv, and uh, Mahavishnu's partial incarnation. And Gadadhar Srimati Radharani, and Srivas is Narada Muni. You should remember, you should every devotee should remember who is Srivas, who is Gadadhar, who is Advaita Acharya, who is Nityananda, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Try to memorize. Remember this. People know, and especially when you go for initiation, these questions will be asked. তবে নিজ ভক্ত কইল যত ম্লেচ্ছয়াদি সবে এলাইল মৈত্র কশির মায়াবাদী. All were converted into devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Even the Mlecchas and Javanas, only the impersonalist followers of Shankara Acharya evaded him. So we've been discussing before also how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, and there was no necessary for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take sannyas actually. Prabhupada writes that in the purport because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. Ah, Nomi Krishna Swarupam. Sri Chaitanya Prapar Madhunam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. Is not any other incarnation or partial incarnation or Sattva. No, he is Krishna himself. Uh, he is Krishna himself. And so therefore, for Lord Chaitanya, there was no necessary for sannyas. And we saw that even Nityananda Prabhu broke his danda, sannyas danda. Nityananda Prabhu broke it. He said, why are you carrying this danda? You are a Paramahansa, you are above sannyasi. Why are you carrying this danda? So Nityananda Prabhu broke the danda in three pieces. He didn't want Mahaprabhu to carry that. These are all transcendental pastimes. Mm. So there was no need, but still Mahaprabhu took sannyas for what? Not to preach, especially to the higher class of people, intellectual class of people, uh, also to the local people. Because when Mahaprabhu was preaching in Navadvip, uh, when he was expanding Krishna consciousness, some people did not develop respect for Chaitanya Nimai. So that was very much hurt to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he thought that if I take the highest order of ashrama life, sannyas life, then people will have respect for me and they'll listen what I say to them. This is one reason. And there are many reasons why Mahaprabhu took sannyas. And another other reason is that the most important reason of Mahaprabhu's sannyas was to preach to the Mayavadis. Because Mayavadis, uh, they are very difficult to preach because they know so much about God, so much about literatures, but the main fundamental thing that every living entity is a servant of Krishna, that they forget. And instead they think that they are one with God or they think they are themselves God. So this was not possible Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to preach to this type of people while staying in the Grihastha ashram. So that's why Mahaprabhu decided to take sannyas, especially to preach to Mayavadis, because all were converted into devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Even the Mlecchas, Javanas, only the impersonal followers of Shankara Acharya avoided him. Even the Mlecchas and Javanas, they also became devotees of Krishna. There are many people like Chand Kaji, Nawab Hussain Saha, uh, many Muslim leaders and big people, they also became followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Mayavadis were not following Mahaprabhu. But so Mahaprabhu decided to take sannyas, and we saw after he took sannyas, he preached to so many Mayavadis and make them devotees like Prakashanda Saraswati, Sarvabhauma Thakur. Sarvabhauma Thakur was also Mayavadi. He was followers of Mayavadi, even though he is a Brihaspati, the guru of the demigods, came as Sarvabhauma Thakur, but still he was he became victimized by Mayavad philosophy. He even decided to teach Mayavad philosophy to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu came to Puri, uh, and when he saw the deities of Jagannath inside the Jagannath temple, by seeing the deity form of the Lord, he fainted. He lost his consciousness, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then all the Pandas there, whoever worshippers of Panda of Jagannath, they thought this man was madman, crazy. Uh, so they wanted to throw him out of the temple. But at that time, Sarvabhauma Thakur, he intervened and he said, don't do anything bad. Bring this sannyasi to my home. So this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was brought to the house of Sarvabhauma Thakur. And Mukunda was there. And later on, Nityananda Prabhu also came and other devotees came there. But Mukund was there. And and then after some time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got his conscious back. And Mukunda told him that you have this gentleman, Sarvabhauma Thakur, he has given you shelter in his place. So Mahaprabhu was very happy to be there. But he stayed for some time. And then every day he would go out and do kirtan. So many devotees follow him. And he was a sannyasi. And Sarvabhauma Thakur was Mayavadi. He was a Mayavadi. He was a follower of Vedantis. So he didn't like that Mahaprabhu was going out every day and speaking and dancing and chanting like a madman. He didn't like that. Then one day he called Gopinath. He said, Gopinath, that I think that this sannyasi, he has no Vedanta jnana. He has no knowledge of Vedanta. That's why he's always going out. And then Gopinath told Sarvabhauma Thakur, why you are saying this? Uh, he is Krishna himself. Varno Varna Hemanga Varangas Chandanangadi Nishta Shanti Paran Sannyasi Nishta Shanti Paran Bhagavad is saying that Varno Varna Hemang, that he has come in the form of a gold. Lord Krishna, the blue Krishna, has come in the form of a gold as Chaitanya in this age. And this is same Chaitanya. So why you are thinking that he has no jnana of Vedanta? He is Krishna himself. But then Sarvabhauma Thakur said, I think he has no jnana. Otherwise, how, being a sannyasi, he can chant and dance on the street like a madman and associating with all kinds of uncultured people. So, and then Sarvabhauma Thakur told Gopinath that you see the Panjika and find out a nice date, uh, and and bring your Mahaprabhu there, and we'll sit together and we'll study Vedanta. We'll start, I will start teaching him Vedanta, and then you will see that all this madness that he's doing on the street by chanting loudly and dancing like a mad, this will all go away. So Gopinath, he listened to Sarvabhauma Thakur and he told Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu said, okay, let's see what Sarvabhauma had to say. Well, I'll attend his class. Because Mahaprabhu was staying in his house, so Mahaprabhu could not avoid it. So then Gopinath and they're all the other students of Sarvabhauma Thakur, they're all studying uh, Vedanta. And Mahaprabhu was sitting there and continuously for 7 days, 7 nights, continuously there was a Vedanta discussion between Sarvabhauma Thakur and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarvabhauma Thakur spoke because Sarvabhauma Thakur was very learned, very educated person in Vedanta. He was a Mayavadi. Uh, he became Mayavadi. That is the misfortune. Uh, so continuously, and then after 7 days, Sarvabhauma Thakur, he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he asked Gauranga that, my dear sir, that I have been speaking Vedanta to you for last 7 days, 7 nights. You haven't asked one question even. Why is that? Uh, Then immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied. He told Sarvabhauma that Sarvabhauma, that your teachings of Vedanta is completely false. It is uh, not a proper Vedanta teaching. Uh, you are teaching Mayavad. You have derided. Uh, you have deprived Swayam Ishvara, and you describe Ishvara's form as non as Nirishvara. This is a very big mistake. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Atmaramasya munayo nirgantam ahitum bhaktim. He spoke this sloka to Sarvabhauma Thakur and explained to him. I think there's every verse, every syllable had some meaning. So Mahaprabhu gave that whole verse meaning to Sarvabhauma Thakur. And then he also spoke about Atra Rishi's teaching about Krishna, how Krishna sits in the heart of a devotee, uh, not by not by philosophical speculation or by word jugglery. He comes into the heart of a devotee through their pure love and pure devotion. And by his own choice, he comes and rests in the heart of his pure devotee. Not that he's forced, not that he has to come there. He comes out of his sweet will, he comes and he helps his pure devotee. And this is Sarvabhauma Thakur was defeated and he lost all his power and potency from his mind. He was very morose. Uh, that I have been teaching Vedanta for so many years and nobody could defeat me, but this person has defeated me. So that night, that whole day, he did not eat. He was fasting. He was fasting. So many people came to please eat something, but he was really fasting. And in the then same night when he went to sleep, uh, he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu holding the kamandalu and the danda, and he saw Krishna. He saw Radha and Krishna with a flute, and then he saw Ram with arrow and bow. That this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Krishna and Lord Ram, but in Kali Yuga he has come as Chaitanya holding danda and kamandalu. Then after seeing this dream, and that morning again Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he brought some prasadam because he heard the Sarvabhauma was fasting because of his defeat. So he brought some prasadam and he came in the morning right after Mangalarati. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought some prasadam and he brought to Sarvabhauma Thakur and he knocked his door and Sarvabhauma Thakur said, "No, I haven't even waked up properly from my bed and you have come. What's going to happen to me?" Uh, and then Chaitanya replied that I have heard that you have fasted whole day and whole night. You haven't eaten anything. So I have brought some Mahaprasad from Jagannath temple for you. So you please honor this prasadam. So Sarvabhauma Thakur replied that I'm going to eat prasadam. I haven't even got out of my bed properly. I haven't even brushed my teeth. I haven't done my Gayatri mantra. I haven't done my worship. I'm going to eat prasadam. Uh, but then Mahaprabhu said, Mahaprasad is non different from Krishna and you should honor it as soon as you see the prasad. Mm. So Lord Jagannath has come to you as prasadam. So you should honor it. So because of the request of Chaitanya, he took a little bit. Uh, and then Mahaprabhu told him that you become the leader of this in Jagannath Puri and take this mission of Krishna consciousness which I have started and you expand in Jagannath Puri. He gave it them the responsibility. You can see how uh, Mayavadis, by the sannyas order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even the Mayavadis, later, even though they were deriding him, in the beginning they derided him, but after Mahaprabhu took sannyas, many of these Mayavadis people, they became his followers. They became Krishna devotee. They gave up their Mayavadi thinking or Mayavadi philosophy. So, in this verse, it is clearly indicates that although Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted Muslims and other mlechas into devotees, the impersonalist followers of Shankaracharya could not be converted. After accepting the renounced order of life, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted many karma nishthas who were addicted to fruitive activities. Many great logicians like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Nindakas, blasphemers like Prakashananda Saraswati, Pashandis, non-devotees like Jagai and Madhai, and Adhama, Poduas, degraded students like Mukunda and his friends. All of them gradually became devotees of the Lord. Even the Pathans, Muslims, but the worst offenders, the impersonalists, were extremely difficult to convert, for they very tactfully skipped the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We see that still, Prabhupada has preached all over the world, uh, but still you see the Mayavadis, they don't come so much to join. Very rare, some people they have joined, but very rare. Even when Prabhupada came first time in America, uh, I think when Prabhupada Mayavadi believed, he used to believe Mayavadi faith, and he gave a place to Prabhupada to stay. And when Prabhupada stories of Krishna as a form, this that he didn't like it. But Prabhupada still he was so careful. He didn't want to discourage him. He didn't want to make a big fight with him or something. Because he knew that he gave him a place to stay and he was using that place for serving Krishna, preaching. So very carefully he dealt with him. And but he did not accept Prabhupada. Even though he gave shelter to Prabhupada. But Prabhupada he didn't accept the Prabhupada's philosophy. It was so difficult. Prabhupada tried him anyways. Uh, but in the case of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though Shastra is in the Mayavadi, they decided, but after some time, many of these Mayavadis also became devotees. Some of them they also joined Mahaprabhu's movement, even though they were Mayavadis. So this is the result of taking sannyas. Uh, sannyas is situated in the highest order of the Varnashram system. So if we accept sannyas, then uh, all other followers, all other ashrama, they uh, give the respect to the sannyas order, because it's the highest order in the ashram. In describing this Kashira Mayavadis, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has explained that persons who are bewildered by empiric knowledge or direct sensual perception, and who thus consider that even this limited material world can be gauged by their material estimation, conclude that anything that one can discern by direct sense perception is but Maya or illusion. They maintain that although that absolute truth is beyond the range of sense perception, it includes no spiritual variety of enjoyment according to the Kashira Mayavadis. The spiritual world is simply void. They do not believe the personality of the absolute truth or in his varieties of activities in the spiritual world. This is the very misfortune. They think there is no spiritual world, material world. Uh, they think Ishvara means Brahma. Brahma means effulgence. They think uh, Lord does not have any form. He doesn't have any abode. He's just effulgence. He's just a big light. But that is not true. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find that God has a beautiful form. His form, his body is not like us. It is not made from earth, water, fire, air, or ether. It is made from Satchit Anand, transcendental body. Is God doesn't have material body. He is a spiritual body, and he has a spiritual abode, and he has so many pastimes in the spiritual world. He has so many pastimes. Every day there's so many pastimes going on in the spiritual and Goloka Vrindavan. Uh, the books that Goswamis, like Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Goswami, they gave us so many nice books. Uh, we have Bhagavatamrita, Logu Bhagavatamrita, Vidagdha Madhava. So many nice books they gave us, and there's so much talk about the pastimes in the spiritual world. So many things you can find if you read those books. There's so much pastimes going on. The Srimad Bhagavatam also gives us so much about spiritual world and the activities in the spiritual world, how the spiritual world looks, and what are the activities going on there. We find from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mm. So Mayavadis, whatever they say, it's kind of a word juggling. Victor Politics. So So Sarvabhauma Thakur, even though he was staying in Jagannath Puri, but he had some kind of Mayavadi beliefs also. But later on, he when after Mahaprabhu discussed their philosophy, he gave up and he joined fully to the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this way, he was saved. by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are many like that. So, we'll speak a little bit about Gadadhar because uh, take over the class complete করেনি তো মাথায় সই করে রেখেছি হ্যাঁ So today's topic was Gadadhar, so we'll speak a little bit about Gadadhar. So Gadadhar Pandit is actually a, he's non-different from Srimati Radharani, as we've heard. Uh, the generally the worship the greatly learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhar Prabhu, who expands the mellows of devotional service and whose lotus feet are worshipped by the kings of the Brahmanas. Among his confidential associates, he reveals his actual form as Srimati Radharani. He distributes the nectar of the ecstatic. Among his confidential associates, he reveals his actual form as Srimati Radharani. He distributes the nectar of the ecstatic mellow of the gopis' conjugal love, strictly following the instruction of all the devotional scripture. See Gadadhar Ashtakam by Srila Sarup Damodar Goswami. All glories to Sri Gadadhar Pandit, who is none other than Srimati Radharani, appearing in this material world on the auspicious Amavasya Tithi in the month of Vaishakha. Blessings the household of Madhva Mishra and Ratnavati, that's their father and mother's name. So Gadadhar Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit's mother name was Madhva Mishra and Ratnavati Devi. To assist Sri Chaitanya in fulfilling his innermost heart's desire to test the mood of Srimati Radharani and her love for Syamasundara. In their childhood, both Gadadhar Pandit and Nimai Pandit were very close and intimate friends, going to each other's houses to play and studying in the same school. So Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar, Nimai and Gadadhar, they studied in the same school. And Shachimata used to visit regularly to the house of Gadadhar, especially Gadadhar's mother. They Sachimata would go, sometimes Gadadhar mother would also come to Shachimata and they would discuss Krishna Katha. Sometimes they would also share prasadam. But unlike Mahaprabhu, who was a very naughty and proud young scholar, always eager to debate and defeat others in grammar, Gadadhar Pandit was from the very beginning very sober and renounced due to which he would try and keep some distance from Nimai, so as to not to be challenged by him with various questions or grammar and Naya Shastra. Naya Shastra is another Sanskritical grammatical uh, alphabetical debate. Uh, very famous in those days in Benares, especially during the period of Mahaprabhu. In Benares, there are so many Naya Tarkis, and they used to whole day they would just do tarka from the Naya Shastra. Uh, this used to be, scholarly people, the brainy people, they would discuss things and try to defeat each other by Naya Tarka. Tarka means words, word juggling. There is also Naya Bekaran also there. Grammatical books were also written, I think, by one of these Goswamis of Vrindavan. So Navadip, once the great devotee Pundarik Vidyanidhi came, and both of them went to visit him. When Gadadhar Pandit saw Pundarik Vidyanidhi, his heart filled with doubt about Pundarik Vidyanidhi's exalted position. Because of because of the external appearance that he had of being a person fully engrossed in the sense as he was seated on a kingly couch chewing pan while being fanned by his servants. Understanding Gadadhar's heart, Mukunda Dattva, with the intention to bring forth the true identity of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, recited a shloka from the Bhagavatam that described Krishna's causeless mercy that he showed on Putana by giving her the position of a mother, even though she had come with the intention to kill him. Despite this fact that she had smeared her breast with poison, just due to her having performed the service of feeding him, her milk being extremely merciful, Krishna blessed her with the position of a mother as soon as Pandra Pundrik Vidyanidhi heard this shloka. He immediately lost all composure and wept torrents of tears in love for Krishna and displayed various ecstatic symptoms such as hair standing on ending and rolling on the ground. Seeing this and realizing his mistake in having adopted the excellence of Pundarik Vidyanidhi devotion. Gadadhar Pandit felt remorseful, and in order to rectify himself, he took shelter of the lotus feet of Pundarik Vidyanidhi and accepted him as his spiritual master. So this Pundarik Vidyanidhi, you know, he stayed a lot of time in Bangladesh, which is now in Bangladesh. There is a Pundarik Vidyanidhi Dham is there in Bangladesh. If you go to Bangladesh, you can still visit his uh, remnants. His house is still there, and everything is there still. So now, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and especially our uh, my Guru Maharaj, Jayapata Maharaj, by his extreme effort, now the Pundarik Vidyanidhi Shripat now is taken over by ISKCON devotees in Bangladesh, and they have built a very beautiful temple, very famous temple. Many devotees goes there and to visit that place. And nice worship of Pundarik Vidyanidhi and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going on there. So Gadadhar, uh, so this Pundarik Vidyanidhi is actually non-different from whom, na? According to Gaura Ganesh Deepika, Pundarik Vidyanidhi is non-different from uh, Vishwabhanu Raja, the father of Srimati Radharani. So in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the same Vishwabhanu has come as Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and same daughter of Vishwabhanu, uh, who is known as Srimati Radharani, has come as Gadadhar. So Gadadhar Pandit has taken shelter of Pundarik Vidyanidhi because he could understand, he could recognize the mistake. Because generally the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees in those days, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees are very simple. Mahaprabhu's devotees were maintaining very good vairagya. Mm. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he himself quoted this verse, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam Shikhartam Ekam Purusha Purana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari. Vairagya Vidya, Mahaprabhu has come to teach Vairagya Vidya. Vairagya means renunciation. Renunciation from what? From material opulence, materialistic life. Mm. Most of the devotees of Mahaprabhu, uh, they were living very simple life, very simple. Even some of the devotees of Mahaprabhu, they came from very good family, well-to-do family, like Raya Ramananda Thakur, uh, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Goswami, and Sarvabhauma Thakur. But after associating with Mahaprabhu, after joining Mahaprabhu's movement, uh, they left everything behind. They left all their opulence and they lived very simple. So most of the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what to talk about the brahmacharis, uh, Brahmananda brahmacharis and all, they were living very simple life. And Mahaprabhu himself and the householders, there are many devotees of Mahaprabhu. Uh, they were also like Vrindavan Das Thakur. They were all grihasthas. I went to Shripat of Vrindavan Das Thakur, uh, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. They were all grihasthas. Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu. They were all grihasthas, but they were living very simple life. They did not have too much material opulence. They did not maintain. Because Mahaprabhu was very much pleased to see simplicity on his devotee. You know, when Sanatan Goswami went to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I think Anupam, his uncle or somebody, Anupam gave him when Sanatan Goswami was going to see Mahaprabhu in Prague, and in the way he met his uncle, and his uncle gave him a very good choral katha is in Bengali katha, and he put that on his shoulder. And when you to see Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu was looking at that wonderful, very nice, mainly made. That katha was very nicely made, and Mahaprabhu was looking at that every time. And At that time, some doubt came in the mind of Sanatan. I think Mahaprabhu didn't like this. That I have taken a base of Babaji, Vaishnava, but I am having this very opulent choral with me, uh, katha with me, or like a sleeping bag covering, like that. So maybe Mahaprabhu didn't like this. So he went to the ghat, he went to the Dashamath ghat there uh, in Benares, and there's some beggar. He had some old quill and he took that and he gave that nice new one to him. And when he came back with that old one, and Mahaprabhu was also looking at that, and Mahaprabhu, but he was looking very with a very pleasing mind. And then Mahaprabhu told him that we are fit to now go to Vrindavan. And he instructed him to do some seva there. So Mahaprabhu actually he showed Vairagya, Vidya, uh, which is his own bhakti yoga, and he wanted his devotees to become very simple. So because why? Because then there is not too many problems. If you get into too much opulence, too many big house, too many material things, then you have too many problems also. Too much work also. And there is no much time for chanting, for preaching, and all this. So devotees should live very simple. In Prabhupada time when devotees joined this movement, devotees were staying some of this place, like in Gainesville, in Mayapur, Vrindavan, even in Atlanta, in Hawaii, so many temples. They were during the Prabhupada time in Atlanta. There was over 100 devotees staying. How they were staying? There were not many houses, beautiful home. They were living very simple. In each in each room, there are 4 or 5 devotees sleeping on the floor, just this bare mat. In Hawaii, during the time of Prabhupada, there were 150 devotees staying in the temple. The temple is only one. There's one building and few cottage, small cottage. But the weather is so nice. Everybody used to sleep outside under a banyan tree, and only for shower they would come to the temple. And the 150 devotees were living there at Prabhupada time, and they were all preaching there. And the whole day they would go out and distribute books, and in the night they would come and just take a little prasad and go to sleep. Very simple. I've seen, I've seen when we were going to Sankirtan in Mayapur or in Vrindavan. We had very simple life. We didn't have just maintain very simple lives. Brahmacharis. Even the Mahaprabhu's household devotees, they were also very living, very simple. They did not maintain too much opulence. Like Goridas Pandit, if you go to the house of Goridas Pandit in Kalna, it's just if you have to take a train from Navadvip and you go to Kalna and you visit Goridas Pandit is a very big devotee. Dijo Baninath, another devotee, Champahati. Dijo Baninath was staying there. They were living very simple. They were householders, but so Mahaprabhu said, okay, you want to remain in the household life, so you worship deities. Make the deity as your focus. So Gadadhar, you know, so he had normal tension. Devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu means very simple. So he had this feeling, but when he saw Pundarik, he didn't like it. His outcome was he didn't like because he thought he was sitting in a very big singhasan, silken clothes. He had gold rings and all that. People are fanning him. You know, but sometimes we make mistake also. And it was a mistake. So immediately when Gopinath could read the mind of Gadadhar and that he's thinking in a different way, immediately he quoted this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when he heard this verse, uh, immediately Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he just jumped from the bed and he was rolling on the ground. He threw all his jewelry here and there, everything, started breaking things. He's just going mad, shivering tears and crying. Then Gadadhar could recognize that this person, that I was thinking that he was a Bishoyi, but actually in his heart he had great love and devotion for Krishna. I have offended him. So immediately he went and paid his obeisances and asked for the forgiveness. And he, not only that, he accepted Pundarik Vidyanidhi as his own spiritual master. So sometimes devotees are not, you know, you cannot tell the devotees from outlook. Uh, that's why there is a saying that uh, বৈষ্ণবের চিনিতে না পারে দেবের শপথ. Vaishnava, the devotees, is very hard even even the demigods cannot recognize the Vaishnavas. It's very hard to recognize devotees from outlook. You have to really know the Vaishnava, and then you can judge. Otherwise, just by hearing something and listening to somebody, don't judge somebody. You can commit offense. Just like Gadadhar, uh, he 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 didn't say anything directly to him that your Bishop is that, but he just thought in the mind like that. But that became an offense. During the Mahaprabhu's time, even if you think, that would be counted. If you would think something bad. But after Mahaprabhu left, Japatamar said that after Mahaprabhu left Prabhupada, he forgave his devotees just by judging somebody in the mind if he did not really acted on it. Mm. So, but still we should try to think always positive way and see the good qualities of Vaishnava. Don't judge Vaishnava from outlook, otherwise you can make mistake. So Gadadhar Prabhu, he could recognize his mistake and his offense to Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and he pardoned, he immediately offered his obeisance and asked for forgiveness. Uh, and devotees are very kind; they forgive you. But one should not take the advantage of it. Oh, because the devotees are forgiving us, so we should just go on committing offense and one after one and just try to think that, oh, I'll be forgiven. No. And Krishna is there also because Krishna is in your heart. You'll know what is your intention. Just like Chapal Gopal, you know, his intention was to give bad name to Srivas because he's expanding Krishna consciousness. So he was always thinking how to give a bad name so people can recognize that he's not actually a devotee of Krishna, but actually he's a devotee of Chandi. Uh, but because his intentions were bad and he acted on those bad intentions, that's why Krishna punished him, gave him Kushtaroga, gave him leprosy all over his body because of offending Srivas. And then the whole society rejected him. That's why, so Gadadhar will also hear some other day also. Tomorrow I think somebody else is giving class. Other days. Next week we can hear more about Gadadhar. It's a very long subject. Mm. So after some time, when Mahaprabhu had returned from Gaya, had started exhibiting his love for Ma, Madhav, he was once crying pitifully while calling out for his Prananath, Brajendra Nandana, Banamali, seeing Gadadhar coming near him, he asked, "Where is Krishna?" To which Gadadhar, after deliberating upon how to best answer his question, said that Krishna was in his heart. Hearing this, Mahaprabhu, without moment delayed, started tearing at his chest and crying and saying that he wanted to open his heart so that he could see his Lord. Seeing Mahaprabhu like this, Gadadhar pacified him and consoled him by saying that Krishna would be coming really soon. Shachi Mata, who had witnessed the entire incident, requested Gadadhar to henceforth always stay with Nimai and take care of him, as even she herself was afraid of going near him. when he was in such a state because she did not know how to pacify him. Following Mother Sachi's instruction, Gadadhar would always stay with Mahaprabhu, and therefore, after Mahaprabhu accepted the sannyas order of life and took up his residence in Sri Kshetra, Sri Kshetra's Jagannath Puri, Gadadhar Pandit also moved to Puri Dham and took Kshetra sannyas, Kshetra sannyas, in which he would never leave Jagannath Puri. So this sometimes that sannyasis are there, like the you see this Mayavadi Sampradaya in four direction, east, west, north, and south. There's every east and west and south. There's one sannyasi is residing. Like they say the Sankara Acharya sannyasi is residing in Rameshwaram. One sannyasi is staying there. One is staying in Jagannath Puri. Another is staying in Dwaraka. I don't know some another one is staying in some other area. Badrinath. Four directions there for sannyasi. They're like a khetra. They don't move from those places. They stay there that place. So the khetra sannyasi is also there in the Gaudiya Vaishnavas also. And they do not they stay either in Vrindavan or Mayapur. They don't move. But generally sannyasis they should travel and preach. That is the recommendation by Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. And if you he told many of our disciples that if you're not interested in traveling and preaching, then why you want to take sannyas? He told some of his disciples. Uh, just to eat good Maha. Don't take sannyas just to eat good Mahaprasad. Take sannyas to preach. Uh, this was his order to his disciples, Prabhupada. So if you want to take sannyas, you should travel. You should take the burden of traveling because traveling is not so easy, you know. So many difficulties are there. So, and sannyasis should travel. They should not stay more than 3 days or 4 days in one place. But there is also Khetra sannyas where they stay in one place and they preach there and they do their sadhana. And whoever in that whole area is surcharged with spiritual power by their presence. So anybody has any questions or comments or you want to add anything?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Yeah, I have one question, Prabhu. I like to know that about the verse you said from Srimad Bhagavatam that Prakashanand who take out all that opulence dress and gold and whatever he has, he take out after hearing reciting the one verse from
That is
Bhagavatam.
Pundrik Vidyanidhi.
Pundarika Vidyanidhi. So which verse is that? If you know, let me know.
Yeah, I can. Maybe next class I can tell you because it will come there in the next. As we read more, it will come up.
Okay, all right, thank you. And another thing is Pundarik Vidyanidhi is Gadadhar Pandit's disciple of the
No,
Gadadhar
Pundrik Vidyanidhi, Gadadhar Pandit, he took initiation from Pundrik Vidyanidhi.
Oh, okay, okay.
The Pundrik Vidyanidhi is the guru of Gadadhar.
Ah, okay, I see.
Actually, you know, in the previous pastimes, Krishna Lila, Pundrik Vidyanidhi he was father. But in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became the spiritual master. So spiritual master is also like a father.
Oh, okay.
Father and mother both.
Hmm. And one more thing. So you said that 7 days and 7 days Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hear from Katha from the
Sarvabhauma Thakur.
Sarvabhauma Thakur,
Bhattacharya. Yeah.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And he didn't ask any question 7 days?
He did not ask, Mahaprabhu did not ask any questions. So that became little, it became irritation for Sarvabhauma Thakur that I have been speaking Vedanta for 7 days, 7 nights continuously, and you haven't asked one question. Have you understood what I'm? That means he's trying to tell Mahaprabhu that whatever I'm speaking, did it go in your mind? Because you haven't asked any questions.
Oh, so he think he didn't understand and he didn't
Yeah.
hear proper.
So that's why he.
But Prabhuji is hearing submissively, just want to hear nicely,
Yeah.
That's why he don't want to disturb
But
him.
you know, this Vedanta speakers, they are generally a little bit proud of their what they are speaking. So they want you to debate. They want you to have questions. That's what the Vedantists they do. A lot of debating, a lot of questions.
But then after 7 days, Mahaprabhu asked some question.
No, then Sarvabhauma Thakur told Mahaprabhu that I have been speaking for last 7 days and 7 nights Vedanta, but why you haven't asked any questions? Why you are hearing like a mono brother, like you are maintaining like a silentness? Why not speaking something? Why not do you say something?
The Lord said that he's a fool.
But Lord told him that you are a fool, that your Vedanta teaching is completely deprived of Krishna.
The Lord said he has no capacity to study, and then he said, Bhattacharya said to the Lord that every sannyasi should listen to the Vedanta Sutra. So that's why the Lord said, no, he's a sannyasi.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. That's all I have. Some few questions.
So then generally, Vedanta teaching goes on around the Mayavadi sannyasis. They sit there and study Vedanta. There's so many scriptures. Sometimes Prabhupada said that by even studying too many scriptures and getting to know too much deep and giving up your seva is also not good, because you can also, this way you can also, there is a chance of going away from your devotional service. So one should limitize everything. Don't go too much. I remember during the early days of ISKCON, sometimes the devotees, they would be neophyte devotees, they're just interested in reading so many types of books. And Prabhupada told Bhavananda and Jayapataka Maharaj also that don't let this new devotees come and they're studying all these big literatures and all this, and then after some time they'll just go away from here. They'll go and join some other place. So let them do seva, and they can also study slowly as they increase their devotional service. They can get into other books, but in the beginning they should just read my books. They should not get into like Vidagdha Madhava, Lalita Madhava books, and like Harinamamrita Bhakaran or or Hari Bhakti Vilas. They should not study all these books in the very beginning. They should just study Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam.
And Srimad Bhagavatam, yeah. And then Chaitanya Caritamrita.
Yeah, they should Chaitanya Caritamrita or Nectar Devotion, Nectar Instant. Learn what is for. Others they just get into all this reading all these forward books, but then the base is not strong, so that they must just join somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's why Prabhupada did encourage. But he did say that in the later on, Prabhupada did say that to some of his disciples that one should also scrupulously read these books of the Goswamis that they gave us. But you have to be, but you have to come to the qualified in that, as you go on with your service, as you go on with your devotions, as you go on with your sadhana, then slowly you can come to this level and you can study.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else, any questions or comments? Add anything? Sangeeta Mataji, are you there? Sangeeta Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Neelam Mataji left.
All right, thank you. Panchak Putra Pasik Pasun Vacha. Paditanam Pavani Bho Vaishnav. Okay, Priyanka Mataji, will stop here. Okay. Are you there? Hare Krishna.
Jaya Patel. Jaya Mataji has some question maybe. Nobody here. Okay.